So the next thing to do with these bits and bobs now is we'll just get them off to one side, ready to get everything prepped down. Now what we want to do is we want to get the rice on first. Yeah, so we do generally, the rule of thumb is 2 cups of water to every cup of rice. So double water to rice. Nice and simple. So I've got a pan over here. What I'm going to do, two cups of water, an equal measure of 1 cup of rice. You want to make sure you get the rice nice and level so that we're going to have enough rice to soak up all the water in the pan. So that all then goes in there, making sure you scrape out some of the excess that might be in there from the water. We want to give that a good mix around, and then we're going to get that turned on high. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start getting the veg all ready for the stir fry. I'm going to start with the carrot. So we want to make sure we can turn these into nice long thin strips. So to do that, what we've done is we've taken the top of the carrot, we've cut the carrot in half so it's a nice manageable amount. I'm going to secure the carrot and take one side off, push that to one side. I'm going to turn it so that the carrot doesn't turn anymore, it doesn't roll around on the chopping board. And from there, I'm going to cut it into a big square, effectively, or a rectangle. From that then, I'm going to do some nice thin strips. With those thin strips, I'm going to stack them 2 high. I'm going to turn them into nice matchstick length, matchstick shape, little bits. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the chilli sorted. So for the chilli, we're going to take the top off. I'm going to grab myself a bowl and I'm going to get the chilli in between my hands with the hole pointing down, and I'm going to give it a really good rub. So what happens here is the chilies start to fall out. So with that, I'm going to take the chilli, I'm going to slice it very carefully lengthways. Still a few chilli seeds in there, but this is going to be easier to get out just by scraping because I've loosened them already. We want to make sure we remove the seeds, otherwise this will end up being a bit too spicy. Unless you like spicy food, keep them in. So what I'm going to do with this chilli now is I'm going to do some nice long slices. Now you've got to be careful, you might have to apply a little bit of pressure because you find the skin on a chilli is a little bit tough. Next thing we're going to sort out is the onion. So we're going to take the top off and we're just going to discard that because we don't need that little part, and then we're going to slice that in half lengthways. Now again, we only need half an onion for this particular recipe, just making sure I get all the brown skin off that. Sometimes you find it sticks a little, so you might need to just use the sharp edge of your knife very carefully and remove that. So we're going to cut widthways across there, doing them nice and thin. This will add a nice bit of texture and plenty of background flavour as well. You don't always want the root end because it's a bit hard, doesn't always add all the flavour that you necessarily want. And that's your onion sorted. I can see now that my rice has just come up to the boil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just turn that heat down a little bit, just so it achieves a nice little simmer. That will then just help kind of get the rice to soak up all that water, getting it nice and fluffy. So before I move on to the next part, next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to get rid of some of this extra stuff I've got here. Keep my workbench nice and tidy. Tidy kitchen, tidy mind. So we're going to take 1 good sized clove of garlic. That's a nice big one there. And what we're going to do is we're going to smash it. Easiest way to peel it and chop it, in my opinion. So knife on top, using the heel of your hand, 1 quick hit across there. And then you'll find that skin comes straight off. We're going to just take the root off that and then literally a very fine, rough chop. Remembering to keep your fingertips down and your knuckles guiding the knife. Right, so we've got the carrot, chili, onion and garlic all sorted there. Next thing I want to get sorted is the spring onions. Now you only really need a couple of good spring onions and this will help lift the dish. It'll add a nice crunch to it, it'll add a nice oniony taste to it, but it's also really nice and fresh. So to prepare your spring onions, what we're going to do is we're going to take those little bits off there. That's the root. So we're just going to slice those off. I'll tell you what else we're going to do. We're just going to take the green parts off there. We don't necessarily need those. This is the area we're looking for. So what I'm going to do is just peel one of the outer layers. If you find it's a bit dirty or anything like that, give it a quick wash, but generally you're usually okay. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to slice these on an angle. So I'm going to set myself up and I'm going to literally slice them diagonally, right all the way up to the top. By doing that, you have a nice shape and it will add a nice colour to the final dish as well. Next thing we need to do is we need to get a bit of oil in the pan and get our pan preheated. You know when your oil's ready to go because it starts off quite viscous, but when it's heated up, it almost turns like water. However, don't touch it because it's incredibly hot. So the rice is just about ready. All that water's been nicely soaked up. It's looking good. Next thing I want to do is I want to get it steamed. So the easiest way to do that is grab yourself a plate, put it on top and turn your heat off. By doing that, all the excess moisture that's in there and all the heat turn into steam and get that rice nice and fluffy, which is what we're looking for. So our oil's nice and hot, we can start getting everything nicely fried off. And we're going to start with a bit of the onion. That sizzle's what you're looking for. That means we're nicely stir frying everything together. So onions in there, we're going to get the garlic in there as well. We need to make sure we keep moving this. It's got to be a quick cook piece of food. So what we need to do, keep it moving, keep that heat nice and high. Next thing we're going to add in, we're going to add our nice bits of carrot. Making sure you're mixing constantly, keeping everything nicely in there. Next thing we're going to do from there is we're going to add our chili in. Now remember, this is going to add the nice spice. So if you don't like spice, don't use all the chili. So we're cooking stuff with not a great deal of colour, which is what we want, but we want stuff to nicely melt down. You start getting the heat from the chilies in the aromas in the air, which is lovely. Might start getting your eyes a bit watery, a little bit of a tickle on the throat as well. That's good, it means you're dealing with a nice hot chili. Next thing we're going to add is we're going to add our 5 spice. So we've got about a tablespoon of 5 spice there. We're just going to sprinkle that in.
What's in the 5 spice?
5 spice is a nice mixture of different ingredients, such as nutmeg, cinnamon, bit of chili in there as well. It adds quite a nice aromatic, woody flavour to things. So once all that is nicely kind of mixed in, we're just going to have a little bit of soy sauce in there. Now everything will start to come down a bit more now. And this is going to nicely glaze the veg that's in there. What we're going to do next, we're going to turn that heat down. We want to make sure we keep that soya sauce in there. Otherwise, it'll go down to too much of a glaze. They won't quite coat the rice like we want. So this is nice and coloured now. Still got that darkness from the soya sauce, but there's still a little bit of sauce there for that rice to soak up, which is what we're after. Next thing we're going to do, get your plates off. We're just going to get a fork. we're just gonna give this rice a good mix round. You wanna make sure that that rice is nice and fluffy and cooked. That's exactly what we're after. So all those flavors are nicely merged together in there. We've still got that nice soy sauce. Let's get that heat turned straight back up again. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get the rice mixed in as well. Now, depending on how many people you're deciding to feed, you might not need all the rice. 1 cup of rice yields quite a lot. So what we're gonna do, a few nice spoonfuls of rice in there. We're gonna give it a really good flick around. Making sure all that veggie and all that rice is nicely getting mixed in. So when everything's nicely mixed in, you're about ready to serve. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get it on the plate. Presentation is everything, so we're gonna make sure it looks really nice as well. And we're gonna get these lovely spring onions and get that mixed over the top. And just for good measure, nice few bits of coriander. Just literally rip it off, bunch it together. This will help add the nice fragrance to it and help bring it all together. That's your stir fry. Get it served up and enjoy.